A girl descends from the stairs as she recalls a quiet, intimate moment. As she hears noises inside the room, she realizes someone is engaged in an intimate act with a girl. She opens the door knowing she has seen this before, questioning whether it was in a movie or if it was just a dream. Once a person witnesses their spouse in such a situation with someone else, there is no going back. Seeing her spouse with another, she knows things can never return to the way they were. The scene shifts to the present. She jolts awake, gasping as she realizes it's that dream again, the one where her husband is with another woman. She must have dozed off for a bit. She grabs her phone and notices that break time is almost over. Getting up, she reminds herself that she has to get back to work. A voice calls out to her, addressing her by Na Hae-soo. She turns and sees that it's her boss. Na Hae-soo acknowledges him respectfully. He asks her to step inside, saying they need to talk. Once inside, he hands her a packet of money, reminding her that she requested her salary in advance. He asks if 1.5 million is enough. He then grumbles about having to withdraw the money in a hurry because she told him not to deposit it into her account. Despite his frustration, he admits that she is hardworking and he doesn't want to lose an employee who feels like family. Na Hae-soo bows deeply in gratitude and tucks the money into her coat. The boss asks if her financial troubles are still ongoing. Na Hae-soo sighs, explaining that with high interest rates these days, paying back debts isn't easy. He then inquires about her husband, mentioning that he heard he got a job recently. Na Hae-soo clarifies that her husband is still in his apprenticeship, so earning a stable income is difficult. However, she reassures him that her husband is working hard and that things will improve soon. As Na Hae-soo exits, the boss watches her leave, noting how tirelessly she works without rest. He murmurs that seeing her dedication makes him want to work harder as well. Na Hae-soo dismisses the sentiment, saying they should get back to work. At the counter, as they handle customers, a waiter calls out asking Na Hae-soo to add 2 more servings of pork belly. She acknowledges the request, promising to bring it shortly. As she serves the food, a young woman at the table whispers to her partner, questioning why he gave all the food to her, since he hasn't eaten much. The young lad smiles and reassures her, saying that he is taking care of himself and eating well. Watching her eat makes him feel full. Rajang teases him, saying she will feed him. Na Hae-soo observes them and thinks that couples in love are beautiful. Whether it's their first romance or their third, their hearts shine as one. Maybe it's because youth itself is beautiful, a time of passionate love and heartbreak. She wonders if this means her lukewarm life has already passed its prime. Thinking if she has lost her beauty, the scene shifts as Na Hae-soo's friend Hwajong suddenly screams at Na Hae-soo, complaining that customers keep calling her auntie. Hwajong finds it unacceptable in this day and age. Na Hae-soo, unfazed, responds that she is a married woman and a householder, so it makes sense. Hwajong, undeterred, grabs Na Hae-soo's face and insists she is pretty, the prettiest 33-year-old she knows. She points out that even though Na Hae-soo wears the same clothes every day, she still glows even in broad daylight. Na Hae-soo humbly brushes off the compliment, saying that flattery won't change anything. Hwajong, laughing, insists she's just happy to work with such a beautiful coworker. Na Hae-soo chuckles and suggests they finish their shift and head home. On her way home, Na Hae-soo climbs the stairs, lost in thought. She once believed her spouse thought she was pretty when he told her so. She used to be easygoing, bright, and effortlessly likable. Back then, youth seemed beautiful and radiant. But now, she no longer feels beautiful. As she opens the door, she sees her husband drinking. Without looking at her, he orders her to dress up and put on some makeup, complaining that she walks around barefaced. He grumbles that it makes him not want to come home. Na Hae-soo pauses before responding. She says she can't afford makeup when she can barely afford rent. Her husband, Mitchell, irritated, retorts that even part-time workers making $180,000 a month wear makeup regularly. He accuses her of being lazy and making excuses. Na Hae-soo doesn't respond aloud, but inwardly she wonders if he even knows how expensive cosmetics are these days. She trembles at the thought of spending even a single extra $1,000 on herself. Mitchell, slurping his noodles, insists that she should wear makeup because he would like that. As she watches him eat, she wonders if love ages just like people do. Their relationship feels worn out, like an old damp basement, a love that withered faster than youth. She questions if time drained her beauty, Or is it the endless struggle to fill the growing hole in their finances? Mitchell suddenly complains that the food isn't even good. Na-hoo bites her lip, questioning whether it's him who makes her feel less beautiful, or if she lost her shine because she still loves him. The scene shifts again, where Hwaijong stares at her in disbelief and asks what all this is. She lists off Na-hoo's packed schedule: working at a butcher shop on weekend afternoons, manning the motel counter on weekends, and opening a florist shop in the mornings. Shocked, she jokes that this is like her Hermione timetable from Harry Potter. Na-hoo dryly responds that she isn't living 48-hour days. Hwaijong, still incredulous, asks if a person can even handle such a schedule. Na-hoo dismisses her concerns, telling her to calm down and put on an apron because they need to open the store. Hwaijong huffs, saying Na-hoo is always thinking about work. As they chat, Hwaijong suddenly asks if Na-hoo knows about MBTI personality types. Na-hoo shakes her head. Hwaijong is visibly stunned. She exclaims if she means to tell that she doesn't even know about MBTI, to which Na-hoo shrugs. Hwaijong laughs, saying Na-hoo really does nothing but work. Since becoming an adult, she hasn't taken a break except for the time she went to the ER with the flu at 24. At first, she was busy managing married life at a young age, without any help from her parents. Then came the financial burdens. Mitchell would apologize, trying to cheer her up, but it never really worked. One day he approached her looking guilty. She immediately asked how much this time. How much money had he borrowed under her name? Instead of answering, he hugged her and asked if she was willing to forgive him. When faced with debt, she didn't feel particularly sad or depressed. She simply accepted it. She thought if she worked hard enough, she would pay it off someday. But every so often, an unexpected wave of emotions would hit her so hard that she just wanted to cry. And yet she still had debts. Their love faded faster than light. Suddenly, a young, handsome man enters the restaurant. Hung excitedly points him out, calling him the Rose Guy, making Na-soo look confused. Hwaijong explains that he is a good-looking man who buys roses every day. Since no one knows his name, the part-timers gave him that nickname. Hwaijong rushes off, eager to take his order. As Na-hoo watches, she thinks to herself that she is still young too. Hwaijong greets the young man and asks if he is here for flowers again. As he lowers his high collar, her eyes sparkle. But instead of answering her, the young man turns to Na-hoo and calls out to her, saying that he would like to order. Na-hoo was taken aback. Hwaijong, equally startled. The words of her colleague echoed in her mind. Mentioning a handsome man who purchased roses daily, in that moment, it became clear that he was no ordinary customer. There was something different about him, something almost weird. His gaze was fixated upon her, as Na-hoo questions if it's the usual bouquet of roses. The handsome man affirms, saying that he is glad that I remembered it. Na-hoo, while taking out the roses, reflects on how the world seems to have two kinds of people. Those who stand at the center of everyone's attention, like the protagonist of a novel or movie, and those who are mere extras in a story no one cares to hear. Glancing at the man nearby, she assumes he belongs to the former group, while she sees herself as part of the latter. As she picks up the bouquet and hands it to the man, she remarks that he's back with the bouquet she previously offered, thinking that he always seems to take the lead, much to her annoyance. Perhaps that's why this man who suddenly barged into her life, once indifferent to everything except work and her husband, has left such a deep impression on her. After he leaves, Hwaijong praises how amazing it was and asks if she noticed how he stood right there, but only wanted her to handle the order. Na-hoo replies that she suspects the man came because of her, noting that he only appears on weekends when she's around and has never spoken to her boss. To her surprise, Na-hoo admits it's her first time truly noticing him, which shocks Hwaijong. Can't believe Na-hoo never saw such a man, considering he's been coming in for several months to buy roses daily. Na-hoo, slightly taken aback, wonders if that's true, recalling that she did seem to prepare a similar bouquet each day. Hwang, checking the schedule, comments that it's understandable given how busy Na-hoo stays, but still questions how someone like him could go unnoticed. After all, she still remembers the face of a handsome man she saw in the subway 10 years ago. With a teasing smile, she suggests the man might actually be interested in Na-hoo. Na-hoo shrugs it off, asking her to stop talking nonsense and get back to work. Hwaijong insists it's not nonsense, questioning if Na-hoo didn't notice how he was looking at her earlier. Na-hoo, unimpressed, jokes about whether the young man had taken some strange medicine to fancy an older woman, adding that he looks at least 10 years younger than her. Huaijong dismisses the remark, claiming Na Hae-soo knows nothing. After all, dating older women has become a trend, and one never knows. Maybe he's genuinely interested considering how pretty she is. While Na Hae-soo quietly smiles, smelling the roses, she remarks sarcastically that if she's considered pretty, then all the truly beautiful people must already be dead. Huaijong, unfazed, insists it's true and asks if people don't often tell her that. Na Hae-soo recalls that someone did mention it recently, though I knew it was nothing more than a kind lie meant to comfort a tired woman. It had felt more awkward than flattering, though slightly amusing given how unloved she was by the man at home while hearing such compliments from others. When Huaijong playfully suggests they might make a good match, Na Hae-soo cuts her off by revealing that she already has a man. This revelation leaves Huaijong stunned.
Prompting her to question if it's really true. Na Hae-soo nods, affirming her words. Jang, still in disbelief, remarks that she had no idea and scolds Na Hae-soo for not sharing it earlier, expressing surprise that Na Hae-soo has a husband and asking what kind of person he is. The scene shifts to Na Hae-soo's home as Ming-chul enters, cursing about how tired he is and asking for a glass of water. He grumbles, wondering if there's anything besides plain water. Na Hae-soo informs him that there's barley tea, though it hasn't cooled down yet. He asks her to add some ice, mentioning that he's going to shower. After his shower, he lies down beside Na Hae-soo, clearing his throat as he tentatively reaches out to touch her. Ming-chul finds it strange that, despite not working out, her body still seems the same. Not long ago, one of his friends had boasted about dating a younger woman, though her figure wasn't as good as Na Hae-soo's. Still, he had let it slide, assuming it was because Na Hae-soo often wore baggy clothes. He notices her body, thinking how good it feels in his hand, though it's been a while since they've desired each other. Yet, he can't help but wonder why she doesn't react to his touch. He asks if she's asleep, prompting Na Hae-soo to open her eyes and deny it. Frustrated, he questions why she isn't responding, adding that she's not a wooden doll. He grumbles about wanting things to be enjoyable and expects her to reciprocate. When Na Hae-soo quietly explains that she's just a little tired, he snaps, asking if she thinks she's the only one working. He reminds her that he's juggling several part-time jobs as well. Eventually, he sighs and tells her to forget it, muttering that he shouldn't have expected anything different as he turns away. Na Hae-soo drifts off to sleep, and the next day begins. Her weekends start at 6 a.m. The flower shop doesn't open until 8 a.m., but she has to wake up early to prepare breakfast for Ming-chul. Of course, she must close the door quietly and cook carefully so that Ming-chul isn't disturbed by the noise. Since Ming-chul dislikes reheated food and refuses breakfast without fresh soup, Na Hae-soo makes him a new batch every morning, no matter how simple it is. In the end, the one who prepares breakfast often leaves the house on an empty stomach, rushing to work on time. Na Hae-soo sighs, thinking about how quickly time passes. Arriving at the store, she stifles a yawn, thinking she just needs to hold on until lunch, as her hunger is already creeping in. When a customer walks in, she greets him, asking if he's there for flowers. The young man nods, confirming her guess. Na Hae-soo realizes it's that man, the rose guy. She asks if it's the rose bouquet, stating that it's about 10 roses, and the man politely affirms. Now that she looks at him closely, Na Hae-soo notices that not only is his face strikingly handsome, but his voice is equally captivating. A slow, low tone that responds with a courteous yes. For some reason, the sound leaves her ears feeling oddly ticklish. Handing him the receipt, she informs him that there are a few pending orders, so it might take a while. She invites him to sit and wait. The young man lingers near her, lightly touching the receipt beside her. Startled, Na Hae-soo wonders if he heard something just now. She suddenly becomes conscious of her stomach rumbling and flushes with embarrassment, questioning whether he noticed. Meanwhile, Hae-jong catches sight of the young man and immediately recognizes him as the rose guy. Curiously, she wonders if he knows the person standing in front of him as he grabs a coffee. Watching him move, she muses that even the way he walks resembles a model and finds herself questioning just how tall he might be. She laughs quietly, wondering whose father must be to produce such a stunning man. As Na Hae-soo finishes preparing the bouquet, she calls out, informing the young man that his order is ready. He accepts it and steps outside, but Na Hae-soo freezes upon noticing a sandwich box left behind. Na Hae runs out to him, calling for him, stating that he forgot his sandwich. The person states that it is a gift, asking her to please accept it as a way to take her back, but Na Hae holds him, stating that she can't, as if receiving something like this from him. The person questions why not to, ask if by any chance it is because she has nothing to drink it with. He hands her the coffee cup, stating that he only had one, but it didn't poison him, which confuses Na Hae. The young lad pleads with her to accept it, taking Na Hae by surprise. After entering the shop, Ha-jung reassures her, saying that the person clearly likes her. She adds that he intentionally left the sandwich for her. Na Hae-soo is baffled that he even left a coffee as well. She states that if that's not a sign of interest, then what is? Quite taken aback, Na Hae wonders if she really looks that pitiful, because when she glanced at her reflection in the window, she saw a haggard woman without makeup, covered in patches of blushy skin all over her body. The man's actions felt more like pity and charity rather than genuine interest. She thinks that her stomach must have growled so loudly that if she were her, she would have found it hard to walk by too. But she thinks, what if this really is a sign that he's interested? Thinking about whether she should draw a line immediately. She figures that, considering she's imagining things that might never happen, her job has become a bit easier. Hwa-jung then asks, what is she going to do now? Reminding her that she said she had a boyfriend. Giggling, she teases Na Hae, asking if she's going to turn down the roses or maybe switch from her boyfriend to this new admirer. She takes a pause before clarifying that she does not have a boyfriend, she has a husband. Quite surprised by this, Hwa-jung reacts by saying that when Na Hae said she had a guy, she meant a husband, not a boyfriend. Apologizing, she admits she didn't know Na Hae was married. Na Hae recalls how her husband always insisted they not make it obvious that they split their debts ages ago and should only refer to him as her husband at home. He wonders why she always has to share their business, thinking that it's not exactly something to brag about, living together after divorce. Annoyed, she thinks it's frustrating, but she confirms to Hwa-jung that he's her husband and that they should drop the subject, prompting another apology. The scene shifts to Ming-chel as a girl calls out to him, handing him a cup of coffee, suggesting he have some while he works. As Ming-chel looks at it, he chuckles and thinks to himself, struggling to believe what's happening. As Ming-chel and the other employees smoke, they chat about how Ari is really pretty, questioning whether she really said she's 25, remarking how great being in one's 20s is. Someone comments on how smooth and firm their skin is at that age. Ming-chel, amused by the conversation, notes that the way older folks talk is different, but admits that Ari has a lot of charm and being young is nice. Another mentions that Ari seems really interested in the new guy, Ming-chel. They note that her gaze is totally different when she looks at him and recall how when they tried to set him up with someone, she snapped, insisting she wasn't interested. Another employee comments that Ming-chel is good-looking and must be around 33, which is the perfect age to meet someone, especially since he's single. Another mentions that Heeji is pretty too. Ming-chel confirms that he indeed is single. The others urge him to give it a try, pointing out that Heeji is quite pretty. Ming-chel considers it and asks if she'd go for it. The scene shifts to home where Ming-chel is watching TV. Na Hae asks, how is work treating you? To which Ming-chel responds, it took you long enough to ask, questioning if she's suddenly worried about her husband. He remarks that every job is tough and questions the point of asking, stating that she's nagging him while he's trying to rest. Na Hae insists that she's not nagging and explains that once he gets his salary, we can pay off our debt faster and then remarry. Ming-chel scoffs, stating that all she talks about is remarriage and questioning if she really thinks he'll do it once they clear their debt. He asks how she could live without him and warns her not to push it, claiming that when a woman nags, a man is bound to run away. He then brings up needing some spending money as he gets close to Na Hae. Hugging her, he tells her he wants to buy some cologne. Na Hae skeptically asks, why, since he doesn't use cologne? Mink explains that now that he's working, he sees many well-groomed guys, even older ones, wearing cologne, and he can't be the only one in the office smelling like musty, like an old man. Na Hae asks how much he needs, and Ming-chel reveals that it's about 200K. He insists that at his age, he should at least get a department store brand, saying he won't buy the cheap kind that kids use. Shrugging, he tells her that if she doesn't want to give him the money, then forget it. Na Hae thinks. They had a lot of expenses this month due to Ming-chel getting the job. They spent a lot of money on a new suit and shoes. And it's true that when someone starts working, expenses tend to exceed income for a while. No matter how much they save, they're still in the red. She wonders if she might even need to take on more work. She considers that she already works at the motel on weekends from the afternoon to the evening, and if she takes a night shift at the convenience store afterwards, their schedules shouldn't overlap. She just needs to cut down on sleep, she thinks, as she takes out her salary packet. Remembering that Ming-Chel said cologne costs about 200K RW, she writes a memo to buy the cologne with money set aside later. To Na-hoo, it feels like she's been given 24 hours to solve a puzzle. She divides her day into pieces, filling the remaining time with work, all for their happy family, their happy home. The scene shifts to a couple of friends who question each other about what made one of them suggest dinner today. They joke that wonders never cease, since he actually offered to buy dinner first, calling the rose guy bomb. His friend Dongwook asks if he's really okay with this, noting that he usually doesn't like noisy places. Bomb states that it's nice to get together. He questions who he should call, and Bae responds with people he knows. When Dongwook asks, anyone, to which Bae confirms Dongwook comments that if he says he's having dinner, a lot of girls will come running. He finds it strange that even the guy who refuses to go to cheap restaurants would do this. Dongwook states that he has called two of his friends, asking if he is ready to go. Bae answers that he's already called someone. As they prepare to leave, Dongwook notes that he's been rushing decisively lately and seems happier. The scene shifts to a restaurant where someone calls out for 2 beers, stating that men go crazy over movement, remarking how simple they are. They comment that if a wife is wise and affectionate, she will naturally earn money and sacrifice for the family. Anu thinks about Ming-Chel's words that men crave excitement and fun, but aren't necessarily affectionate towards their wives. He wonders if it's even possible to say that men don't develop apathy over time. At one point, they were very affectionate once.
He wonders if it's even possible to say that men don't develop apathy over time. At one point, they were very affectionate once. She used to be like that too. She questions whether she wasn't wise enough or affectionate enough. Suspecting if she ruined their relationship, a voice calls out to Na-hoo, informing her that there's a customer. As she turns to welcome them, she greets them and asks how many are in their party, only to see Baeyoung standing in front of her. Recognizing him, she realizes he's Rose's guy. As Beyonce passes by with his friends, the waitress calls out for a table for 4. The girl confirms it's a table for 4, stating they are a group of 4, for which Na-hoo apologizes, explaining she was in a daze. As she welcomes them to sit down, she prepares the food, recalling her friend's words about how the Rose guy seems to like her, suggesting he is interested in her. She thinks that she is not interested in that. She hasn't even considered it. And even more, she has never wished for such attention. Although she feels embarrassed by the young man overhearing that conversation, for some reason she finds it difficult to look at him. She wonders if the girl next to him is his girlfriend, as they look great together. She speculates that the bouquet was probably for her. Working with younger people, she never knows what they might talk about as she tries to pull herself together. The girl then calls out for Bae, questioning what he is looking at, noting he's been staring for quite some time. Dongwook addresses her as Hiji, mentioning that it's like a disease. Ba-om only has the slightest bit of interest in her, and that's why he always does that, whether he's looking around or simply minding his business. He questions why Bom-T keeps staring at people's faces, for which Hiji shushes him, stating it's not a diss. She curses Dongwook as he sarcastically asks if she really scares people like that. The friend tries to calm the situation, but Bumante pokes his foot, reminding Dongwook that he's burning the meat. Dongwook acknowledges it, saying it'll be fine, and asks him to just eat. Hiji then calls out to Bom-T, questioning why he keeps staring at the lady and whether they know each other. Bom smiles, admitting it's obvious they do know each other. Hiji, taken aback, wonders what he means, thinking she had a feeling but wasn't sure if he truly knew her. The scene shifts to Na-Hae-soo's home where she is doing chores and notices a cloth, a t-shirt of Mum Shul, torn. She thinks he'll be annoyed and considers that it hasn't been long since she bought it, so it's a shame to throw it away. She might as well sew it up. While Mum Chul is lying down, he questions what Na-hoo is doing instead of resting, to which she replies that she's sewing. Mum Chul, curious, asks what she's sewing and takes the cloth, calling it pathetic. He questions if she's seriously asking him to buy clothes for her right now. If that's the case, she should forget it. Na-hoo questions why she would throw it away, saying it's still wearable, but Mitchell insists that men don't like such pitiful behavior. He dislikes worn-out underwear and hates stretched ones even more, saying it makes him feel like an old man. Na-hoo reflects, realizing everything reminds her of him. She doesn't know what they discussed, but the whole conversation was a misunderstanding. She wonders why she keeps recalling embarrassing and shameful memories despite trying so hard to forget them. Na-hoo asks Mitchell to give the cloth back, for which he sighs, saying whatever he says always ends up sounding depressing. He pulls her up, stating she has no charm, no mood, and no clue about being a woman. Yet, despite all that, he still wants to live with her, claiming he is the only one for her, to which Na-hoo quietly agrees. In winter, a chilling cold pierces through the walls of their semi-basement apartment, stinging their skin. Trapped in a narrow, run-down house, their lives remain strictly ordinary, yet unfortunate. She might hate living like this, but she endures it all because of him. The next day, as Na-hoo packs food, the weather report mentions a chance of rain in the afternoon, expected to continue until late at night. Na-hoo thinks it'll probably rain until evening and decides to take an umbrella with her. She wonders which one is still intact, concluding that one looks fine while the other is tattered. Since the worn one still works, she decides to use it a little longer and let Mitchell use the better one. The scene shifts to the office, where Mitchell calls out for Ari, asking where she's heading. She replies that she's going to get some office coffee. As she slides beside Mitchell, he questions if they ran out of instant coffee, to which Ari asks where the new pack is. Mitchell mentions he once saw it there. As Ari tries to grab it, she suddenly screams and jumps beside Mitchell. He, startled, asks what's wrong, and Ari nervously explains there's a bug over there. Mitchell, relieved, jokes that he thought he'd done something wrong, and questions if she's really that scared of bugs. Ari reveals that she's more than terrified as she's extremely scared. Clinging to Mitchell, he finds her reaction cute and offers to capture the bug, asking where it is. However, as he looks around, he finds nothing. While Ari insists it was definitely there, Mitchell thinks how Na-hoo has never been afraid of bugs, making someone like Ari seem refreshing. It almost makes coming to work worthwhile. The scene shifts to the shop, where Na Hae-soo mentions that someone is running late today. Na-hoo asks who she means, and her friend reveals it's the Rose guy, adding that it's somewhat comforting to see his handsome face at least once during this tough part-time job. Spotting him, Na Hae-soo announces his arrival. Na Hae-soo, feeling awkward, quickly decides to tend to the flowers out back, prompting her friend to question her sudden departure. As Beyonce enters the shop, he notices Na Hae-soo leaving and heads to the counter. Na Hae-soo asks if there's a specific flower he's looking for, to which Beyonce responds that he'll take the usual bouquet of roses, making her question how he didn't even glance around before deciding. Later, at dawn, rain pours down. Na-hoo thinks it's fortunate she didn't run into him today, but she realizes she can't avoid him forever. Embarrassing moments quickly fade after a few days. She reflects on the heavy rain forecast, noting it's really pouring now, and hopes Mitchell remembered his umbrella. As she opens hers, it crackles and falls apart. She recalls it seemed fine this morning, but is now completely broken. While the convenience store isn't far, it's not close enough to run through the rain. Since the rain is expected to continue until night, she can't wait here indefinitely. As poverty quietly defines people, even a cheap umbrella could have spared her this situation if only she hadn't procrastinated and bought a new one in advance. She wonders what to do, knowing Mitchell will likely be annoyed if she calls him, especially since he's been tired lately from adjusting to his new job. She decides to wait a little longer. Just then, an umbrella appears over her. It's Beyonce. He asks where she's heading, but Na Hae-soo insists she'll be fine, explaining her place is a bit far, so he should go ahead. However, Beyonce remained, pointing out the rain is supposed to last until dawn and suggesting they share an umbrella. Hearing this, Na Hae-soo thought it was as if the sky was mocking her for making such a presumptuous mistake. The whole situation made it nearly impossible for her to avoid this man. He believed he had only made a kind offer out of the goodness of his heart. If she had continued to refuse, it would have been strange, as the situation was already a little awkward. But Na-hoo thanked him, thinking they might as well share the umbrella. Walking through the rain, Na Hae-soo realized they were on their way home. Contrary to her expectations, the man didn't say a single word. However, thanks to the heavy rain, sharing a one-person umbrella didn't feel as awkward as she had imagined. He walked at an unusually slow pace for someone of his uncommon height. Even Mitchell, who was also tall, always lagged behind when they walked together. Perhaps it had become a habit ingrained in him from once being concerned about someone. Na-hoo eventually mentioned that his girlfriend might not like this, questioning what would happen if she found out he had shared an umbrella with a stranger. Bamti simply asked who said he had a girlfriend, prompting Na Hae to question if it wasn't the woman she had seen with him at the barbecue restaurant. He clarified that she wasn't his girlfriend, just a friend, making Na Hae wonder if that truly was the case. He moved closer to Na Hae, insisting that it was true, and asking her to believe him. Taken aback, Na Hae replied that she did, though the words felt strange to her, as if she couldn't fully grasp the situation. Just then, from behind, a car rushed by, and Bemonth quickly pulled Na Hae-soo aside to protect her from the splashing. Apologizing, he explained that the car had come too fast, and he had been worried she might get hurt. Na Hae-soo reassured him she was fine, though she couldn't help thinking how frightening the situation had been. Feeling uneasy, she remarked that he was tall, noting how he had completely shielded her from getting splashed. He simply affirmed it, and Na Hae couldn't shake the thought that this was more than just her imagination. There was no way someone would do such a thing for a complete stranger. Now that she noticed the other side of his coat was completely soaked, while her clothes were barely wet, she wondered if she should ask if he was interested in her. If that was the case, she thought she should draw the line immediately. Na Hae asked why he was being so kind to her, prompting him to smile and admit that she had figured him out, saying he had motives. Na Hae flinched at his words as he clarified that he simply wanted to get to know her. Na Hae dismissed it, while Benonte questioned why not. She pointed out that he was young and seemed popular among women, asking why he was trying to date an older woman. In response, he questioned why being younger and popular should stop him from getting along with someone older. Na Hae firmly told him it couldn't happen and asked him to stop as they had already arrived. Standing at her doorstep, Na Hae thanked him for the day, to which he asked if they would continue being strangers. Na Hae confirmed they should, and the man nodded, saying he had heard her clearly before walking away. Watching him leave, Na Hae thought he would have been more stubborn, but he had accepted her words more easily than expected. The sight of his retreating figure after such an obedient response felt strangely solid and poignant. Descending the stairs, Na Hae-soo wondered how he had ended up interested in someone like her. Perhaps it was because he was still young, and sometimes it was just curiosity. Entering her home, she realized Michelle hadn't taken the umbrella with him. Remembering the words spoken at her shop, she thought someone would have to pick one up in front of the company, and Michelle would probably appreciate it. The scene shifts as Na Hae-soo carrying the umbrella arrived at Michelle's office. Standing outside, she rang out for him, but there was no response. It seemed their plans had fallen through, and he hadn't even seen the text she had sent about picking him up, likely because his phone battery had died. She regretted coming all this way without confirming or making any plans, and decided to head back home until she saw Michelle sharing an umbrella with another girl.